I have now spent a month with the Fujifilm X-T5, brought it to several shoots, made tons of tests on it, and in today's video I want to give you my opinion on it after 1 month. First, let's talk about build quality. Well, this is going to be a quick one because it's just great. It's built properly, it feels solid in hand. I opted for the gray finish and the gray finish on it looks great. Of course, you can have some fingerprint that gets stuck to the camera, but apart from that, build quality wise, it's properly finished. However, I will point out that some of you reached out to me telling me that they had some issues with the camera, meaning that their screen felt not really well fixed, or they had some scratches on the camera from the get-go. If you do see this kind of issue, please make sure that you take a picture and that you document it as soon as you open your Fujifilm camera, and just send it back, because you should not accept a camera with some defect like this at this price point. I would add also that I tested this camera in the rain and the weather resistance seems to work fine. When it comes to the ergonomics, I would say that if you are used to the XT series, you will pretty much be at home here. Of course, you have the ISO, the shutter speed and the exposure compensation dials on top of your camera. And if you like the XT ergonomic, that's great news for you. The button layout is also really similar to the previous cameras, although I would add that they come out a little bit more of the camera than the X-T4, which makes it for a more comfortable kind of use. When it comes to the grip, I would say that it is also deeper than the one in the X-T4, which makes it even more comfortable than before. However, if you use heavy zoom lenses, I would suggest that you get a grip for this camera because it won't feel as comfortable. It's a great grip for the streets or for simple portrait lenses, but for really long zooms, you might need an extra grip on it. Finally, let's talk about the screen. Fujifilm went back to a 3-way tilt screen on the X-T5, and for photography I think it is just better. You can make sure that your composition is adjusted with your screen aligned to your body, which was not the case on the X-T4 in some position. However, if you prefer shooting yourself, then you might want to go with the camera with a fully articulated screen. I think that the best of both worlds would have been what we see on the new Sony cameras right now, where they have the tilting mechanism with the fully articulated mechanism combined. Maybe for next generation we will see that on the Fujifilm cameras. Now if we talk about image quality and resolution, the X-T5 comes with the new X-Trend sensor 5th generation 40 megapixel, the same as the X-H2. Now it sounds like a huge jump in megapixel, 40 versus 26, but in action, in practicality, it's not that huge of a jump. Here are some examples to compare 26 megapixel and 40 megapixel footage, the 26 coming from the X-T4, and you can see that yes, you do have some more resolution, but it's not a huge improvement. The 40 megapixel is definitely useful if you want to create several images using crops from one file. However, it comes with some disadvantage. First, file size. You will need to increase a little bit your storage if you want to use this camera. Second, high ISO noise. If you start going up in the ISO, you will notice that there are definitely more noise in the X-T5 compared to, let's say, the X-T4. So if that's a priority for you, you might not want to get this camera. Fujifilm also introduced the pixel shift with the X-H2 and the X-T5, so you can create up to 160 megapixel files. Now be aware though that to use pixel shift, you need to have absolutely zero movement with your camera and your subject. So this is limited to really specific use cases, but if it's useful for you, that might be an argument to purchase this camera. When it comes to video, and yes, this is a photography first camera, but it is capable of shooting 4K 60p, 6K and 4K HQ, which is a downsampled 6K footage, at 30 frames per second. Those are great capabilities for a camera in 2022 and even 2023. And with the introduction of F-Log2, you will have even more dynamic range to color grade your footage. However, keep in mind that for video, the rolling shutter on this camera is pretty bad. So if that's important for you, you might want to go to the X-T4 or X-H2S road, because that's the best Fujifilm camera on the market right now for this use case. Overall, I am really pleased with the image quality of the X-T5 for both photography and videography, but if high ISO is a priority for you, you might want to get an X-T4 or an X-H2S, which have lower megapixel count but handle better this kind of situation. I made an entire video dedicated to the autofocus mechanism of the X-T5, and if you want to know more about it, I invite you to watch it after this one. But overall, I get good result with this camera. It's definitely an improvement compared to the previous generation, the X-T4. The subject detection is much better, and the autofocus system sticks to the target. You also have now the introduction of other subject detection like animals, train, airplanes, etc. And the X-T5 and its autofocus system is definitely capable of creating sharp pictures. It might not be exactly on par with other brands, but honestly it doesn't really matter. You can make it work and you can create great images with it. Now, speaking of the test that I made earlier in my earlier videos, some of you suggested that I disable the MF plus AF functionalities to get better results. And I definitely got better results with the X-T5 with actual less shots where the tracking and the focus in my image were giving me different information. So if you own an X-T5 and you have the same kind of problem, I invite you to do the same and disable the AF plus MF function. The Fujifilm X-T5 comes at $1,699. It is a photography first camera. It comes with great image quality and resolution, build quality, and ergonomics, and the autofocus is greatly improved compared to the previous generation. Not perfect, but definitely improved. If you are photography first users and you enjoy the dials of the Fujifilm system, definitely I feel like the X-T5 is a great camera to get at this price point. And being a photography first camera doesn't mean that it cannot shoot video. With 4K, 4K HQ and 6K, the introduction of F-Log2 and the support of ProRes and B-Raw external, you have a lot of capabilities in such a small body to help you create everything that you want. Over the past month, I have shot product, portrait, street photography with this camera. I also plan to travel with it in the end of the year and use it for landscape photography, for example, where I think it can really shine. It has quickly become my main photography camera, and I plan on using it with the X-T4 to create more content for this channel. The X-T4 for my vlogging / YouTube camera, and the X-T5 to shoot video where I'm behind the camera and to shoot all my photography. The X-T5 has handled everything that I've thrown at it for the past month, while keeping me interested in shooting. This is why I like Fujifilm, and this is why I wanted to stay with the retro system, because this is the system that make me want to shoot. Let me know if you have any question about the points that I raised in this video, and if you've missed it, check out this video right here where I talk about the autofocus system of the X-T5. See you there!